how we go. Okay, so welcome to the final presentation in the Gateway to That Good Gut Feeling. So as always, we've got the little disclaimer there. This presentation is not, it's the whole purpose behind it is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, prevent, or mitigate any condition or disease. And as always, consult with a healthcare professional if before taking any medication or nutritional supplement, or don't take any of this as advice. All right, so we have gone over in the last two presentations. Part one was about the digestive system, how it works, how things go wrong, what it's made up of, what it's designed to do, and of course our little microbes, our little gut bugs, how they operate and what harms and depletes their health, and how that when they get out of whack, it causes what's known as dysbiosis, and how then they go to wreak havoc in the body, cause leaky gut, break down our mucosal lining, and produce things like autoimmune conditions and aches and pains and those kinds of things. And then last week we looked at the gut brain connection, and I talked about how that leaky gut, the concept of our food's not digesting properly and they are able to escape into our blood, and the immune system comes along and attacks it, and then that same principle applies to our brain in that we've got our blood-brain barrier that too can be broken down, and then all of the toxins and all of the things that gut barrier is there to protect us from are no longer they're able to penetrate into the body, into the brain, and they're causing things like Alzheimer's and MS and all kind of neurological conditions. We've got the ADHD in there, we've got anxiety, depression, the works. And then, of course, I talked about parasites and worms and mold and their role in wreaking havoc in the body as well. Tonight we are going to be talking about how do we heal and seal the gut and begin to thrive again. So I'd love for you guys to pop in the chat what it would mean for you in light of everything that I've shared today. What would it mean for you to be able to heal and seal the gut? What things would be improved in your life? For myself, I think about back before I started addressing my gut health, and I think about the type of mother that I was, and compared to the type of mum that I am now, I was going through that stage where I was a yelly mum, and I didn't like, I always wanted to be a mum, and the first year or two was pretty good, and then things started going south for me, and I was getting cranky at things that normally wouldn't bother me. I had zero tolerance with the kids. I was snappy, moody with my husband. So for me, they're all of the things that have improved for me. Of course, I had my, my little winky eye twitch that was going on, and a couple of other things that were manifesting in the body, as in physical symptoms. But for me, it was more about my moods and about my motivation and my energy and just my desire really not to get much accomplished at all. So I'd love to hear for you what it is that addressing your gut health would accomplish. So I'll give you guys a second to do that while I just try and fix my thing slideshow from this end. Okay, sorry. As you all know, I'm fabulous with technology. Last week, on the last presentation that I did the entire presentation and the recording got stuck on the first slide, which was fun to edit. All right, so now after, in light of all of the presentations that I've given in the past, we now know it's important for our digestive system to be operating optimally so that we can absorb the nutrients from our food. And so that we're able to detoxify. So when it comes to all of those heavy metals that I was talking about and all of the gases and toxic substances that these parasites are releasing into our body, in order to get them out, our gut needs to be healed and sealed first. Otherwise, it's just recycling around our system and overburdening the rest of our detoxification organs. Want to know for clients and me for better digestion. Mother-wise, the same, bloating, tired, and cannot wake up properly. Absolutely. And that definitely does improve. So some other things that you can obviously expect to find an improvement of by healing and sealing your gut is not having the bloating, not having any other digestive discomforts. So it might be a case of you may not be able to trust a fart. Some people can't. Some people don't know whether it's going to be safe or not. Some people are having to run to the toilet quite constantly and don't actually want to leave the house because of that reason. They're afraid that they're going to get caught out. It may mean less aches and pains for you, less headaches. You may simply want to have control over your appetite again. So in one of the presentations, I talked about how our gut bugs are in charge of our appetite. They're sending signals to the brain saying, feed me carbs, feed me a Big Mac, feed me chocolate. So you may want to get the upper hand on those guys again. And not have to rely on sugar and coffee and carbs to get you through the day. Perhaps you might be chasing some more energy or like myself with the moods and being cranky. And just the energy, not just the energy to keep up with the kids, but also the motivation to, the want to, the desire to, because some days, let's be honest, it can feel really hard to want to be involved and to want to keep up with the housework. Like that's not fun for anyone. So just to have the motivation to get those things done, or perhaps, you might be getting on a bit now and you don't have babies in the house anymore. Perhaps it's the grandbabies that you're wanting to chase after, or maybe it's your children that you're concerned about, whether they've got the digestive discomfort, or perhaps it's more of a behavioral thing or a developmental thing that you're concerned about. Obviously, in light of everything that I've shared today, healing and sealing the gut is our first port of call and is going to make the world of difference to all of those things. So in order to heal and seal our gut, yes, nutrition is important, and I'm going to get right into that. But of course, there's always the basics, and we have to get them right first. And so I am releasing my 8-week gut health program on the 5th of next month. And these are the kinds of things that I help support my clientele through. It's not just navigating the minefield that is nutrition and healing of the gut, but it's also prioritizing all of these things. So we all know the importance of this stuff. I'm not going to spend too much time on these things because I don't think it's rocket science. I think where we struggle with these things is actually prioritizing them in our life. I don't think it's a case of we don't know that they're important. I think they just fall by the wayside in the rest of the whole works that motherhood and being a busy mum and working mum, if that's you. Bloody kids, I tell ya. Anyway, so we've got the prioritized sleep. Excuse me 1 second. Go to sleep. Lay down. Lay down. You're cute, but lay down. Yeah, right, Mum. Lay down, Bubba, please. Okay, so we've got prioritized sleep. Having the wind down routine in place is really essential. Avoiding blue light, so making sure that we are not scrolling through our phones right before we're about to fall asleep. It's not just going to what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just going to impact how quickly we fall asleep or our ability to switch off, but it's going to impact on the quality of our sleep as well. And then try not to eat too close to bedtime. And that's just a digestive thing. You want that period between when we fall asleep and when we wake up for your body to do the whole rest and digest, and a lot of healing happens then. That's why sleep is so essential. It's not just the brain that's repairing and regenerating, it's our entire body. So exercise. We all know the importance of exercise, and I talked about this quite extensively through the last two presentations, in that it's not just moving your body for the sake of burning the energy and burning the calories and everything else, but it's also a release, an end to the stress response. So we talked about the stress response and how it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and exercise can signal to the body that that is an end, okay? And it's going to burn up those stress hormones in the process. So 20 minutes a day with exercise. You don't want to be doing something that you don't want to be doing. You've got to make it fun. You've got to make it enjoyable, or otherwise it's just going to be another chore. Stress management, ditch the flight or fight response. I talked about this quite extensively last week as well. We want to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. And I also talked about how our bodies can get stuck in that flight or fight. If we're always constantly busy thinking, doing, planning, and we can't calm ourselves down, those stress hormones are circulating throughout our body. Those parasites and pathogens and all those nasty things that we don't want to be feeding are just eating off of that stuff. That stress response creates glucose in our blood, and so they're feeding off of that. Reduce your toxic load. Avoid adding to an already, I didn't finish the sentence there. Avoid adding to an already toxic environment. So it's a no-brainer. The environment that we're living in today, in comparison to 50 years ago, we're just exposed to so much more. So it's really important that we're mindful of what we're putting on our body, what we're putting in our mouth, in the way of making sure we're washing our fruits and vegetables, and that detoxification support as well. And I've talked about that in the past too. So healing and sealing the gut is just one of the things that you need to be doing. We need to support the liver and the kidneys, and there's a lot that can be done in that process as well. So hydration, no brainer there. When it comes to how much water that we should be drinking, it really does vary on your age, your weight, your sex is another thing. If you're drinking coffee or drinking alcohol, obviously you're going to have to drink more water, because those things are going to dehydrate you. Creativity. It's about finding your purpose in life, and so you can have that fulfillment and that feeling of success, because life is about living. And at the end of the day, if we don't have a purpose, or something that we're working for, or something that we're striving for, something that's giving us that fulfillment, then really, what's the point? It just does so much for your state of mind, and for when it comes to, I talk about this as well a lot, in that our emotions play a big part. They're producing chemical reactions within our bodies, and so having that creativity is also an outlet. It's a great stress reducer as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. I told you I wasn't going to bang on, and I feel like I'm banging on, so I apologize about that. Sunshine and nature, getting out in nature and getting that vitamin D from the sun, so crucial. So with nature, especially for kids, if your kid is pulling their hair out, and I think most of us here are country mums, we know that. And I don't even think country mums is probably a bit of a generalization. I think this goes for all children. If they've been cooped up inside for too long, they go a little bit crazy. They need to get outside, and they need to get that vitamin D. They need to get the fresh air. And they need to be out moving their body. And the whole concept of nature as well is, when it comes to improving your microbiome, diversity is key. Getting out into the garden and digging in the soil. Our soil is so similar to the microbes in our gut. what makes up the composition of soil. So when you're digging in there and you're pulling veggies out and you're eating them, chucking them in your mouth, and you're getting that soil and everything, you're getting the dirt on your fingers, you're breathing it all in, that is adding to our microbiome. It's doing it wonders. It's not just a stress reducer, and it also can help regulate hormones and things like that. It's just so essential for that diversity in the microbe. They've actually done studies on country versus city, children and their microbe diversity, and country kids are exposed to a hell of a lot more, and it's for that reason. Their environment is just that more diverse. We've got the animals, we've got the poop, all of the lovely things. And then also getting out in the sun is going to help with the hormones as well, and also with your circadian rhythms. So if you have a child that is perhaps not a very good sleeper, making sure they get that sunlight, especially first thing in the morning, instead of having them inside until a little bit later on, it might be worthwhile getting out, going out and having a stretch and just exposing them to that sun, and it can just help reset their internal clock. And then we've got the community and connection. They've actually done studies on this. It's the Blue Zone study, I think it's called. And they have shown that community and connection actually promotes longevity. And so that's something to really keep in mind, especially in light of the whole COVID situation, with lockdown and that, and everyone's kind of pulled back a little bit. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of taking any chance I can get now to get out there and see people and do things. And that really is essential. And when we spend time with family and friends, that's signaling to our brain and our body that that is our safe place. So it's going to reduce stress. It's going to get you in that state of rest and digest and out of that fight or flight. And as humans, we're designed for connection. It can do terrible things to our mental health when we feel isolated and alone. My husband used to work in the mines, 7 on, 7 off. And even though I had my kids here, I tell you what, it did things to me. I hated it, and I just cringe every time I think about that. So having that connection, make sure you're picking up the phone, ring your mum, ring your best mate, chat to people, just make it a bit of a priority. I know it's easy to get wrapped up in all of the things that we're doing, and we're busy. Mums are busy, and but it's just something that you need to be mindful of. We've got the venting and everything there as well. And when it comes to another thing with digestion and community and connection, when you think about when you sit down to enjoy a meal together as a family, switching off the TV so there's no distractions. So from a digestion standpoint, you're having the conversation, so your body's in that relaxed state. You can prime yourself for that digestion. You're talking, so you might be not eating, inhaling your food. You're not eating so fast. It might take you longer to get through the meal because you're chatting away. So all of these things are really, really great. My best mate doesn't answer my phone calls. Do so. Okay, so I'll leave that one there. And moving right along. So the internet is a minefield. You guys have all heard my story. When I started this, the reason that I started doing that gut feeling was because of a conversation I had with a girlfriend. And I told her that addressing gut health for her son is crucial and really important. And her response to me was, I know, there's just so much information online. I don't know where to start with it all. I don't know what to believe. And there's just no support. And so that for me was my light bulb moment. I'm passionate about this. I love helping people. And I know how crucial it is. I can't emphasize how much gut health can improve your life. And so that's what I want to do. I want to be able to take out all of the noise. And what we're about to go through is a lot. There is so much to it. There is so much conflicting advice. But the truth of the matter is that we all are all so bio-individual that what works for myself and what works for you may look very different. And so it's really important to have someone to help you navigate through those waters and to take the overwhelm out. Because if you're looking at all of the things that you need to be doing, you're likely, especially if you're in a state of, you don't have the energy, you have the brain fog. Our body's first line of defense, or brain's, sorry, first line of defense against situations where it's overwhelming and there's too much to do is to shut down. That's it. Procrastination is a defense mechanism of the brain because it's going, well, way too much, way too much. I can't process this. I'm just not going to do anything. And so you might find that you can do something for a week or two, and you can stay with it for a little while, but then actually progressing past that point, you find that you might sink back into old ways, or you just go, this is way too hard for me. I don't know what I'm doing. Another problem that I see is a lot of people go out there and they get caught up in the fad things, that diets that might be running on the internet at that particular time. And a lot of people then come back and go, okay, well, this, I'm feeling worse than when I began. My symptoms have actually, I've been doing this for over a year now, my symptoms are actually worse. And so that is what I want to try and take out of the equation. I want to try and work with people one-on-one to navigate those waters and make sure that that is not happening. All right. So when it comes to healing and sealing the gut, we are looking at the 4 R's. Now, I mentioned before about the similarities between soil and our gut microbiome, and our mucosal lining in our digestive system. And it really is true. So when you look at soil and what that's made up of, you've got your minerals and everything in there. You've got worms and viruses, and like I said, it's got their own microbes in there. We've got a big problem with the quality of our soil, just as much as what we do with the quality of our microbiome. And I'm not going to go into that tonight, don't worry. But I just wanted to paint you a little bit of an analogy, a little bit of a picture. So if you just pretend this little garden that you can see in the picture there is overrun with weeds. You've got a million different things that shouldn't be there. You want to plant a veggie garden, but in order to plant the veggie garden, if you were to go and put your plant your seeds in amongst all of those weeds, chances are it's going to have too much to compete against, and it's not going to grow. It's not going to thrive. You're not going to get your crop out. So, in order for you to be able to plant those vegetables, we need to remove those weeds first and foremost. Then you need to replace. So you might need to improve the quality of the soil. So that might look like putting your compost in, or blood and bone, whatever it needs. I'm not a gardener. Disclaimer. I think if you follow my social media accounts, you know I have a tendency to kill a lot of plants. I'm doing really well this run, but we'll see how long that lasts. And we've got the reinoculate with same thing, the fertilizers, whatever else is going on there to improve the quality of the soil, and repair. And so we've got to keep it watered and feed it what it needs and help those vegetables to grow and thrive. And it's the same sort of principle that we need to apply to healing and sealing our gut. We can't seal that gut as long as there's parasites and worms and all of the dominant bacteria in our gut. If they're the bad guys, then there's not a whole heap of repairing that's going to take place. Okay, so when we're looking at removing the bad guys, what we need to do first and foremost is to stop feeding them. And they thrive on carbs and sugar, that glucose that I was mentioning before about our stress hormone response when we're getting stuck in that fight or flight, and we're just keeping that glucose pumping around our body. Starchy vegetables is another one. Processed and refined foods, alcohol, deep fried foods. I think I just said that. No, I didn't. Processed foods, I said. Coffee and black tea. And so we want to have an alkaline environment, basically, is what we're trying to achieve. And the parasites cannot thrive in that environment. But as long as you're putting all of that stuff in there, they are just going to be going to town on your food that you're feeding them. And you're just going that environment, when you're feeding them those things that I've just mentioned that you shouldn't be feeding them, that's when they're multiplying, that's when they're reproducing, and that's when they're thriving. So that's what we don't want. Then we've got your herbal remedies that can come into play. So cloves is one. Wormwood is another really powerful one. The thing with, I don't know if I wanted to go into this just yet. Yes, no, I did. So the thing with what can happen with parasites is when they're in there, they form themselves little colonies. They build themselves these little homes, and they protect themselves in a little layer of like glue type substance. It's called biofilm. And so they're really can be really difficult to get rid of. And so that's where these herbal remedies can come into play. And help to break that biofilm down. But again, we really need to be incorporating all of these things to really knock it on its head. If you're doing that and then just putting the crap back into your body, you may as well not have done it at all. And the thing to keep in mind too, when you're doing this approach, what can happen is when you have what's called die off, and when they're dying off. So I talked about last week how the parasites feed off of heavy metals. So you think about what's going to happen then when you are killing these parasites off. They're going to be releasing all of their toxic gases and all of the heavy metals and everything back into your body. And so depending on how unwell you are will determine, how significant this die-off reaction is. And you may need to put things in place to assist with that detoxification. So that's what I've got there on number 3. We've got what's called binders. So some of the binders that you can use are fiber supplements. Guar gum is one of them. That I've come across. Activated charcoal is another one, psyllium husk, and bentonite clay. So they're just a few things there to keep in mind. I wouldn't recommend going in and I've come across protocols that completely advise against doing this and believe that just dietary changes are enough if you are able to put it in place for a long period of time. This would be more so for if you're wanting to speed up the healing process, really get on top of them. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Coffee enemas, powerful way to rebalance the body, remove any built up rancid, undigested foods. Yes, it can sit in there and ferment, and they can sit in there and feed off of it and release all of their gases and cause bloating and ulcers and all kinds of things. Coffee enemas can help reduce liver toxicity and stimulate the flow of bile. And it just basically will create an unfriendly, unpleasant environment for those parasites and worms and whatever else you've got floating around in there. Some supportive foods for when you're going through this process are garlic, vegetable soups, so anything that's easily digestible, lemongrass, basil, rosemary, thyme, oregano, ginger tea, green tea, lemon and lime tea, apple cider vinegar. That's a favorite of mine. I don't know why, but I love the taste of it. And I don't know why, but my boys love the taste of it, which is great for me. So that's going to help balance out the pH levels, and it's going to help improve your digestion as well. And then the last one there, identify food intolerances. So I talked about food intolerances can be caused from the leaky gut. So when these undigested food particles from, say, gluten and dairy are big contributors, when they are escaping into the bloodstream as undigested food, the immune system comes along and goes, hey, I don't recognize you, and as is attacking it. And so eggs is another one that are big food intolerance. What else have we got? Sugar. No, not sugar, not a food intolerance. That's what we need to take out while we're doing to identify the food intolerances. We've got the what's called an elimination diet, and it's advisable to do the parasite cleanse or whatever cleanse it may be that you choose to do at the same time, because you're removing all of those harmful foods. So it makes sense to be removing the sugar as well. So nightshade vegetables is another one. So things like tomatoes and eggplants, um, caffeine, as another one to remove during that period. Corn. I was just having a mental blank there. Soy and corn are another big contributors as well. And so, um, with the elimination diet and getting rid of the parasites, I actually offer that in my second part of my program. So the first 8-week program that I do is designed to help transition people from a diet that might be high in sugar and carbs, and they're really reliant on those foods. And ideally I would love to start everyone here, but there's a couple of reasons why I've incorporated the 8-week Kickstarter program. And that's because a lot of women that I speak to are not at a point where mentally they're ready to go from, they're not ready to give up their chocolate. They're not ready to give up their coffee. They're like right at square one. And so to give up all of those things in one go, it comes back to that way too overwhelming, and you're not going to set yourself up for success. The other reason is because some women that I speak to are quite ill. Their digestive system is not well. And I just spoke before about the die off and how that can manifest in the body. And that can be brutal. I incorporated activated charcoal while I was doing a parasite cleanse. And it was not nice. I had a migraine to the point where I was vomiting, and I was useless, absolutely useless. I couldn't do anything. I was bedridden. I had to get Brody to come home. He took 2 hours instead of the 10 minutes that he probably should. That's irrelevant. That's not the point. And so it that can happen for, depending on your situation, that can last quite a while. So sorry, I've just got someone entering into the waiting room. Okay, so that is why I have designed it that way. And so we want to get to a point where we're starting to really support the detoxification pathways in our body. We need to prep our body for that point where we are able to start to go in and get rid of some of these bad guys and really focus on the healing. So it's just as much about preparing our body as it is preparing our mind, that we've got that 8-week lead up program. The second part of the program is the first 2 weeks is all about preparation, setting ourselves up for success. Then we've got the 30-day elimination diet period and the parasite cleanse. Now I will be teaming up with a naturopath to do all of this. The naturopath will be able to you'll be able to have a consultation with the naturopath and work out exactly what line of defense we need to take for yourself. It's not just going to be a stab in the dark and hope that this works. It's when you sign up to the 8-week Kickstarter program, we do a complete health history. So I go through with you right from when you're a baby in nappies to where you are now. We look at your mum and dad, and we get a full picture of what's going on. and work with you that way. And then the second part of, the last 2 weeks after that elimination diet, we reintroduce the foods and we see whether there are genuine food intolerances there. And trust me, you may not know now that you are intolerant to certain foods, but by the time you take them out for that period of time and add them back in, you can feel what it does to your body. I did this with coffee. I've noticed it with dairy. I now know the foods that I can't tolerate. And when you do start cleaning up your diet, a lot of people freak out. I was actually speaking to a lady today, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not going to have to give up all of the foods that I loved, am I?" Like, and the thing is, yes, you are, and yes, you do love them now. It's not forever. Some people can add certain foods back in and have no problem with them. In fact, after you've done that 30 days, there are great health benefits to, and I'm going to touch on this in a bit, but there are great health benefits to having yogurt and kefir and things like that in your diet, and butter and those kinds of things. So, that they do have their place, but for that healing to take place, and in light of what I was telling you about the parasites and whatever else, you can understand and appreciate why they need to be removed for that period of time. And I think 30 days in the scheme of things and the lead up and the health benefits that you're going to get from doing that 30-day period are going to fully outweigh the not having those foods. And also, disclaimer, when you take them out and you're doing all of the healing, like I mentioned before, the bugs in our belly dictate our appetite. Once you take those foods out, you start feeding it the right things. You don't crave chocolate anymore. You guys are going to think I'm crazy saying these things. You're not going to crave the carbs anymore. You're going to crave the healthier food. And when you do revert back to those other things and you're eating them, then you kind of like, you feel what it does to your body and you don't want them anymore anyways. And you're going to have to trust me on that one. I know you're all looking at me like I've got two heads right now. Okay, so replace. So healing nutrients. We've got digestive enzymes, vitamins and minerals, amino acids, and essential fatty acids. So when our digestive system isn't working properly, we have the capability to produce a lot of vitamins and minerals all of our own accord. That happens in the gut, but when our digestive system is compromised, that's not happening. And that's the same can be said for the digestive enzymes as well. And when we're not producing, so I talked about the whole concept of when our digestive system is compromised and we're not converting the minerals and vitamins from our food either. We're not absorbing them. So I talk about how it's not so much you are what you eat, it's more so you are what you absorb. So you can have what appears to be the healthiest diet on earth, but if you're not absorbing those nutrients, then it's not going to be doing your body the justice that it deserves. When it comes to what you're putting in your body, a lot of people revert back to calories in, calories out, but it should be more so looking at nutrient density, and we want to be absorbing those nutrients. We want to be eating foods that are going to feed us on a cellular level. So food can be either a poison or it can be a medicine, and it's up to you to decide which side of the fence that you want to sit on. So with the digestive enzymes, I've spoken about the importance of our food being alive, so to speak, so they can have their own, when they've got that enzymatic activity happening, you're giving your digestive system a help along. But if you've got food that's man-made, that's processed, that's not real alive food, then you don't have that. And you're going to be putting your body through the extra, making it work harder. So some Alive food is papayas are good, honey, pineapple, fermented food, of course, and we're going to go into that a bit more. And so when you've got those digestive enzymes, you can actually take digestive enzymes. So if you do have problems digesting your food, digestive enzymes are great to give you that upper hand. So if you're struggling to get it from your food and you feel like you need that boost along, might be worthwhile looking into talking to a health professional about. So we need these to break down the proteins for digestion. When there's no proteins, there's no amino acids. When there's no amino acids, there's no neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are our happy hormones. I've talked a lot about those as well. So it really is essential that we've got those. Then we've important vitamins like vitamin C, and then you've got your B vitamins. When it comes to amino acids, you're going to get these from your animal fats, and this is where your dairy comes in really handy. Of course, you've got to eliminate that as a food intolerance first. It's a very important part of the process. And when it comes to dairy, another really important thing is the quality of yogurts and kefir that you buy in the shop are going to be the healing benefits in things like yogurt and kefir is because it's fermented and it's got those probiotics in it. And when you look at store-bought yogurts and kefir, the diversity, you know how I talked about diversity and how important that is for our microbiome, the diversity is not going to be there. You're only going to be very limited on strains. Whereas when you are making it from home, you can buy culture starters, you can use those. It would be very advisable to use that A2 milk is the better quality milk. Even better again is if you can source fresh, unpasteurized milk. That is what I would be looking at doing there. And so our healthy fats and fats that you can get from eggs as well. And then when we're looking at essential fatty acids, we're looking at things like a really good quality cod liver oil. Can't beat it. Fish oil and flaxseed oil is another really good one. All right. Excuse me 1 second. I've pressed the wrong slide. This is just for the recording. Okay, so when it comes to reinoculating fermented foods, which doubles with the probiotics, but when we're looking at fermented foods, sauerkraut is an all-time favorite for me. If you don't like the taste of it, I promise you will get there. I love it. Again, if you can make it from home, it is so easy. I teach this in my 8-week starter program because you can take all the probiotics in the world, but what you get from your sauerkraut, especially if you're making it from home, each batch is going to contain different microbes depending on where it was grown, whether it's organic, what soil it was grown in. There's so many different factors will impact the strains that sauerkraut you get with that sauerkraut. And so that diversity is really what we're looking. No one milks their cows anymore. No, I know. I'm looking for someone to milk a cow for me because I'm trying to limit the amount of work that I need to do. And I can't find anyone. So it's looking like I'm going to have to get a milking cow and start milking it myself, which will be fun. So yogurt again, kimchi, kefir, a couple of things there. All really easily made at home if you're dedicated. And really, fermented foods are non-negotiable. If you're wanting to repopulate the good guys, so we're getting rid of the bad guys, we need to repopulate the good guys. They need all the help that they can get. And then prebiotics are just as important. Something to keep in mind with the fiber I mentioned, about some real starchy vegetables. What can happen is you can feed the fiber can feed the bad guys just as much as they feed the good guys. So it really is important to know your body and work with your body and be conscious of how you're feeling when you're incorporating new foods, those kinds of things. That's another thing that I work really closely with my clients on, is just, like I said, everyone's so bio individual, but that's just one thing to keep in mind with the fiber. It's super duper duper important. High soluble fiber. It contains things like inulin. It aids in digestion, and the foods that you're looking at are like leeks, onion, chicory, and garlic, amongst plenty others. And probiotics, sorry. I mentioned about the fermented foods, but when it comes to probiotics, just be careful. Not all probiotics are made equal. I do stock a really good probiotic that utilizes slow release technology. So what that means is that your general run of the mill probiotics that you get over the counter, not all of them, most of them will start to break down in the stomach acid within 7 minutes. Whereas the slow release capsule, it takes 52 minutes before that process starts to happen. And so more of the those probiotics are going to get through those first stages of digestion and into the small and large intestine, where they're going to do their work. There's another one that's sort of really gaining traction at the moment are spore-based probiotics. So might be worthwhile looking into that. If you are interested in sourcing a good probiotic and you'd like to have a chat with me, I'm more than happy to do that. I am actually an affiliate of a great company called Nourish Me Organics. Organics, as you know, of course, I'm going to be into that. Nourish Me, it's all about gut health. They've got all of your fermented food culture starters. They've got your crock pots. They've got the mason jars with the little aerators. So when you're fermenting food, it's important not to let oxygen in, but you've got to let the gases out. So they've got little air seal things that help that process happen. The crocks, which I've got, it's a couple of liters. I figure if I'm going to do it, I don't want to be doing it all the time. Just make one big batch and store it all in the fridge. We do go through it quite quickly, so it's not a huge issue for me. But I've got a big crock, and what you do, you just put the lid on top and you fill the lip with water, and then the lid sits on that and it lets the gases bubble out, and keeps the oxygen obviously from getting in. So if you are interested, please let me know. I can get that link sent to you. If you use, I've got a code and everything that you can use that will get you 20%. Might be 10%. I have to check that. I can get you some money off regardless. So if you're looking for digestive enzymes, or if you're looking for any of the fermenting food products, let me know and I can hook you up. At least I know these guys. I've been following him along for quite some time, which is why I've decided to partner with that particular company. I love their values. I love their ethics. I love everything about them. So need to know more, please. Righto, I will hook you up. All right, and then we're looking at repairing. All right, glutathione. This word should not be new to you guys. Super duper duper important. This is glutathione. We can produce this ourselves, and it's essential for detoxification. We've talked about the heavy metals. We've talked about all of the other crap circulating around the body. We need to arm our body with everything we can to get it all out. And so that's glutathione will help with that. Helps repair leaky gut and also helps to prevent it from happening again. Then we've got meat stocks and bone broths. I don't think this would be much of a surprise to you guys. When it comes to bone broths and meat stocks, if you're just starting out in your healing journey, you want to be trending toward meat stocks more than your bone broths. And the reason for that is because of histamine. levels, your meat stocks are just going to be that little more gentler on your digestive system. So with your meat stocks and bone broths, the difference there is just simply that the meat stocks are cooked for a lot less. So I've actually got meat stock bubbling away on the stove at the moment. I use that to replace my morning coffee because I miss my coffees. I still have coffees, don't get me wrong. I just really, like I said before, I feel it when I have them, so I'm very mindful of limiting them. Um, so as I was saying, the meat stocks, you just cook it for a lot less, depending on what it is that you're cooking. Generally, it'll be around 3 to 4 hours, whereas your bone broths, you're looking at 12 plus. And so that's the difference there. And with the bone broths, it's just pulling more of that good stuff out of the bone. So your collagen, your gelatin, and they are what is going to heal and seal the gut. And you can get all of this at Nourish Me Organics as well. You can get it online. Plenty of places sell this stuff. But the thing I want you to keep in mind again is if you can make it at home, especially if you can make it off of grass-fed beef, or grass-fed, whatever it is, cut of meat that you're using, or free range, whatever the case may be, is going to be a lot more powerful. Like if you look at the stocks and broths and that you get in the containers, they're just liquid. What I get when I cook my stocks on the stove is a proper gelatin, like it turns to jelly when it gets cold, and that's what you want. And then glutamine, so that's going to protect against future damage. Then we've got healing food. So obviously steering clear of all of those foods that I mentioned earlier on, steering clear of inflammatory foods. And we want to be incorporating good fats, steering clear of your vegetable oils and hydrogenized, or however you say that word, fats. So the bad fats, there are fats, please look into it. Really detrimental to your health, really detrimental to your cell communication, what's happening there. So when we're looking at good fats, fat has been demonized in the past, but when you look at how our body is made up, you look at our dry weight, so you take out like the water out of the system, out of the equation, half of our weight is fat, and 60% of our brain is fat. Our cells, a lot of the makeup of our cells is fat. So we need to be feeding our body fat. It is very important. So animal fats, dairy fats, butter, cream, ghee, the fats in egg yolks, and I also mentioned cod liver oil and fish oil, so your omega-3 fatty acids. Chia seeds are another great source of those. And your fruits and veggies. Obviously probably not obviously, I haven't touched on it yet, but when you're going through the elimination diet, and depending on what kind of overgrowth you do have, sometimes it is advisable to take the fruits out. This is why it's important to have a naturopath or someone working alongside you, so that you are able to identify when it's necessary to take different things out and promote different kinds of healing. All right, so now I have, oops, I've pressed the wrong slide again. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so that is everything in relation to the healing foods. And it's not everything, there's other things that you can be doing, as in intermittent fasting, for example. And, I haven't touched on a lot of things, but I have also been talking for over an hour now. So I will leave it there. There is a lot more, but that's the bones of it. That's essentially, if you've got a gut health problem, that's where you start, and that's how you can get to the core of what's going on and knock it on the bum, so to speak. So my gut gateway 1, yes, that's the best I could do. when naming my program. My Kickstarter program, it's an 8-week program. I mentioned earlier about the 1 hour health history. So that takes place before the program has even started. And that just gives me a really good overview of where you've come from and what's gone on. You know, have you had rounds and rounds of antibiotics? Have you been exposed to mold? Have you had significant periods of stress in your life? Those kinds of things. Then we've got weekly educational videos. So I think it is really important to understand why it is that we're doing what we're doing and understand the science behind it. I don't, you know, what we've discussed tonight is about as deep as I get. But I do think that deeper understanding is necessary. And from the information that I provide, it's going to be a group kind of, or a joint process, in that I'm not going to be dictating to you what you need to do where. We're going to be working together. Like I said, everyone's bio individual. I'm going to meet you where you're at and make sure that we're moving at your pace. I'm going to keep you accountable. I'm going to keep your butt moving along, but at the same time, we need to be mindful of where you are at with your gut health and how quickly we can take it. And everyone's going to differ in that respect. We've got daily exercise videos. So exercise really, really, really important if we're going to heal and seal your gut. You need to be moving your body. Those daily exercise videos are delivered from Melissa Nielsen, my sister-in-law. She's a PT. She specializes in postpartum recovery. So, you know, she knows all about the ab separation and the pelvic floor and what exercises to avoid if you are, you know, have not long ago had bub, and these are things that you need to be worried about. So she's all over that kind of thing. And the one-on-one coaching with me, of course, which you get 4 sessions with myself. We do that fortnightly. But in the meantime, we've got a Facebook support group. And of course, you're going to have access to me via email. You can ask questions anytime. In that Facebook support group, we've got Mel as well. So Mel's the PT that I just mentioned. She's there to support you with the exercise stuff. So the videos that what we provide are pre-recorded, but if you have any questions in relation to your exercising, you can pop them in that group and she can respond to you on there. She is happy to also speak with people outside of that group if you do need that one-on-one support. On top of that, I have teamed up with my mentor, Rhonda Muller. She's a nutritional therapist. She is a wealth of knowledge. She's an incredible lady. She is going to be available in that Facebook support group as well. And that's just for anyone that is really struggling. So while we're implementing changes, and if you're really struggling to get through them, or you need the additional level of support, whether it be from different supplements or whatnot, she is the lady that we will go to and get that clarification on. So if you have any really hairy questions that I can't answer, we've got Rhonda there for backup. So that's going to be a really really great asset to have. And then we have the group coaching sessions. Now, the reason that I put the group coaching sessions in here is because I don't want you to the one-on-one sessions that we have together, I want to make the most of that time. And so any worksheets that we have, any goal setting, for example, that we have, I'm going to be jumping on into that Facebook group. We're going to be putting all of that out there, telling you what needs to be done so that when you come to our sessions, you're armed with what you need to get the most out of that session, and we can plan and target and really get in and get things happening. So that's why we've got the group coaching there. So in relation to the one-on-one coaching, I only have 10 positions available, and I've already filled a couple of those spots. So if you are wanting to jump on this program, I haven't yet even started to advertise on my mailing list. I have only dropped little bits and pieces here on my social media. I haven't actually outwardly come out and said, this is what I'm doing. So if you do want to jump on board, I highly recommend that you get on quick. And also, if you sign up, yes, please. If you sign up before the 26th, you are going to get yourself a 20% discount. So this course is valued at $500, and that is a significant discount as it is. This is the last time you will see this package at this price because it is the first time that I've released it. It is going to, I've taken a fair chunk off already. That extra 20% off is going to score you another $100 off. So a couple of the other packages out there that I think I'm actually delivering more value than what these ones are, and you're looking at $1,000 plus. So really, really good savings there. If you're watching this on replay, you can find the link in my bio if you're watching this on Instagram or you follow me on Instagram. If you follow me on Facebook, I will pop it in my website details and it will take you to where you need to go to sign up. Are there any questions on this 8-week program? I'm going to pop the link in the comments so that you can copy and paste, and it'll take you right there. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Bear with me 1 second. Just wait for any comments to come through. There we go. Oh, you bugger. How's about Hardy has fallen asleep? How good is that? Okay, copy and paste. There you go. All right, the second option that we have, let me just get my way back onto the next one. All right, option 2, exactly the same, except you don't get those one-on-one sessions with myself. So you're going to get all of the information that I'm providing to everybody else, and those group coaching sessions, I go through basically what it is that you need to be doing, what you should be working towards, but you just don't get that one-on-one support, which I think for a lot of people. So this course is designed is the word I'm looking for anyone that doesn't have a clue where to start with their gut health. For someone that has a fairly good idea, but finds that they're going through the motions and that they get on something and then they crash again, and then they get back on it and they crash again. Or those people that I talked about that have gone and done all kinds of different things and their symptoms just continue to go worse. So it really looks at mindset, looks at your relationship with food. We try and get to the root cause of what's going on, and I really work with you to make behavioral changes. Are you directing that at me? You have come to mind in the past, yes. But no, I have it in my notes. And so yeah, that's the whole idea of the working one-on-one with myself, is just for that additional level of support to keep you accountable, to keep you moving along, to keep you on track, and to make sure that you're making changes, that it's not just going to be a fad diet, it's not just going to be a once-off, it's going to move you into a lifestyle change that's going to keep your gut healthier for longer. And the whole idea of, you guys hear me banging on about this all of the time. This is, yes, you're going to benefit, but this is for the entire home as well. When it comes to our kids, and they're a mirror of us essentially. And so monkey see, monkey do. So when we're looking after ourselves, when we're feeding ourselves right, when we're moving our body, when we're calm, when we're tolerant, we're able to, you know, um, give example to our children on how to for them to reach their full potential. We're modeling is the word I was looking for, modeling that behavior. And the whole idea behind that gut feeling is that doing it for the kids and about helping our children reach their full potential and about making that next generation. I've talked about this plenty of times. Each generation is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And really, that is up to us. We need to be the change that the next generation needs. We need to be setting that example now. So, in relation to option 2, if you are wanting to utilize that option, you will need to contact me. You will need to contact me in order to jump on that one. I don't have the link provided for you to take that to the pay, like all the way through the checkout and whatever else, and set up that health history. So we will need to have a one-on-one to discuss that. And for tonight only, I'm offering that 20% discount. So the 20% discount on option 1 is going to stay standing for until the 26th. And sorry, the 20% discount on option 2 is only going to stay relevant until tomorrow night, until that last presentation has been done. So after that, that is no longer valid. So you can get that one for $200 instead of $250. So are there any questions on that one? No? Okay, so I am in, yay. If you don't have my contact details, here is my address. It's that_gut_feeling@yahoo.com. You can find me on Instagram at that_gut_feeling_au. I will be changing my handle to Tony Dingle tonight, so you can also search that in there. And then on Facebook, That Gut Feeling AU, or you can also join our Facebook community. It's called Doing It for the Kids. I post lots of great little mini videos in there and go live in there every week. So my idea is to build an army of women, like-minded women that are there to support and uplift one another, and really just to be a one-stop shop in that. I'd like to eventually, anyone that I'm interviewing for my podcast, for example, I'd love to get them on there to do Q&As and those kinds of things. So that's something really exciting that I've got in the pipeline for the future. So keep an eye out for that. As always, if you have enjoyed this video, if you've learned something tonight, as you can appreciate, this information is really important. I'm so passionate about getting it out there to the wider community. If you know of someone that has digestive issues, if you know of someone that has neurological conditions, anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism, any of those things, please let them know about this information. Get them in touch with me. I do free half-hour consultations. I've been going for well over an hour now, so I better stop there. Really appreciate you all for jumping on tonight and showing your support. It does mean the world to me. And I look forward to having you all on my 8-week program. All right, guys, good night. And thanks again.